Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Let me make sure this is actually connected. Hello, hello. Happy Tuesday. Bronx Tales is live. I hope everybody had a freaking fabulous 3-day weekend if you got so lucky and blessed to have one. I know that I did take a few days off. Kind of. I needed it, but I did do quite a bit of research on stuff this past weekend. We'll let a couple more people get in here. Hi, my love. How are you, Christina? I haven't talked to you in a few days, and I found out some bad news today. I'm so upset. Hi, Bianca. Look, the best mods in the world are here. So, guys, hi, Sid. I found out today that Bronx is having surgery next week, and I'm like beside myself. This is my child, and I'm scared. So I'm gonna take a couple days off next week so he can have surgery, but I'm just really worried. That's all. He'll be fine. He's getting fixed. He's 4, he hasn't been fixed, and he's gonna get fixed. So he's not fixed, and they have a program running right now where you can get dogs in the community fixed for like super duper cheap, and I wanted to do it anyways, but I figured while they had the program going, I might as well do it now. They said it would take a couple months of wait time, and that's what I prepared myself for. And then I got a message this weekend that said he could come in next Tuesday. So I was like, oh my God, I wasn't prepared for that, but it's okay. Hello, JJ. How are you? How are you? Good to see you. He'll be fine. He's a big boy. I'm just he's my whole life. Like, oh my goodness. I've never spent 2 seconds away from him his entire life, and vice versa, obviously. So it's going to be yes, I'm going to be worried, but that's okay. He'll be fine. And then he'll be nice and lazy so we can make a bunch of videos for you guys. So hello, stop that right now, Angel Mom. Hello, Jethro. Jethro says my dogs aren't broken, so I'm not getting them fixed. That was kind of my idea, but he still tries to like hump once in a while, and I'm like, okay, you're 4, like knock it off. But Pumpkin, I actually work from home, and he's the reason I work from home. I had my last job years ago. I worked in an office, and I switched back to the medical field a couple years ago, and the main reason was because I could work from home. And when I was working at the other place before, I tried to do a daycare thing for him, and he got attacked really bad. Like, it was horrendous. And so that was kind of my reasoning for switching careers and working from home so I can be with him all the time, and it's all good. Hello, Carol. So yeah, he gets to be with me all day. All right, JJ, we'll see you back here in a minute. So I have some things. First, we'll get this out of the way since I was only 5 seconds early today, which is not usually what I like to do, but everything is alleged. This is all our opinion, as you know. Rubber band method. Oh my God. That'd probably work, actually. Jesus. Could you imagine? Oh my goodness. Okay. So I don't know if he'll do well with the cone. He's pretty good. If I tell him to leave it, he'll leave it. If it's just him and I and he's not too excited. Grandma came over and saw him this weekend, and he was just beside himself with excitement. He even jumped in my lap while I was sitting in the chair, which he's never done before. So he was just overly excited. So you guys know that I am obsessed with these. I'll share it. I'm obsessed with these gosh darn, not that one. This one. Blood droplets, or red fluid droplets, I should say. And I know in this picture we can barely see them because we don't get them in an actual file type thing, but you guys know what I'm talking about. It's these droplets, and then they're the same in Xana's room, basically in the same area, and they're perfectly round. And I always found it strange. Wait a minute. I just noticed there are 2 Doc Martens in this room. But there is one Doc Martin downstairs. And I thought for some reason Maddie had left one downstairs and there was one upstairs, but there's two upstairs. That just caught my attention. Anyway, you guys know that. Hello, Brent. We haven't seen you in so long. He will do great. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I hope you're doing well. We haven't seen you in a while. Yeah, that's so weird. So for some reason, I was thinking about this whole Doc Martin thing and this whole, I heard Kaylee flying down the stairs and all the girls wear Doc Martens. So I was like trying to like play this scenario in my head to how one Doc Martin would get downstairs. But I'm now just looking at the picture again after having all these thoughts this weekend. And I realized there's two Doc Martens in here, but one downstairs. And there's also one sock downstairs. That is very strange. I can't believe that how awkward would that feel, right? If you take off one sock and one shoe and then walk upstairs, that would be really strange feeling. And I don't know who would do that unless heavily intoxicated, but I still don't. That's strange. Interesting. I'm going to have to come back to that with my brain later. But you guys know that I am super fixated on these droplets right here. And then there's the same ones in Xana's room in basically the same spot. And we know that they're perfectly circular, right? So in my head, I'm picturing a person just standing there holding the weapon at their side and just, the droplets are just dropping, although they're perfect, even though they're kind of spread out. So it would be like somehow they're not moving at all because these droplets would have even the slightest tail if there's any movement, right? If somebody's walking, they have a little bit of a tail when they drop off the weapon. And they're not, but they're spread out pretty far from each other. And I find that weird. So I was doing some digging and I was looking up, different styles of knives as opposed to, like a K-bar has and if you're a knife person in here, hello, Susan. Hi, Fizzy. If you're a knife person in here, I'm not. I don't really know much about knives. So I was really trying to educate myself about the knives and the different points and everything about knives. So if I get something wrong and you're a knife person, please let me know. It's just about having the correct info, really. So I was digging into different knives and what type of droplet they would leave if somebody was standing in place and letting the droplet, it's just dropping from standing in place from, a foot high to 3 feet high, and the difference it would make, different patterns and things like that. Now, I noticed on the K-bar that they are referencing actually has a different type of blade. It's not like a completely straight point down type of blade. It's what they call a clip point. So it has a little bit of a divot before you get to the point. It's a little bit different. And I can show you a picture of it in a second. But what I did find was even having just that tiny different shape on the end point of the knife will cause a different pattern, even though you're just standing there. So technically, a K-bar style knife with the clip point end would actually leave a teeny tiny tail, and it would not be perfectly circular. Perfectly circular would be just a completely straight point edge knife. The point would be just straight. And let me show you what I'm talking about if I can grab it real quick. I'll have to show it really fast because I don't think I can have a weapon on here, but let me grab a picture really quick of what I'm explaining. All right, here's this picture, and then let me just share it. That's not what I want to do. We'll take this one off. We'll take this one off and we'll put this one on really, really quickly. Okay, really quick. I just want you to see the tip. Do you see about an inch or maybe half inch before the point on the right side of this, there's actually, it goes inward a little bit, right? So that's apparently what is called a, hello, Stephen. Hi, Lisa. That's apparently what is called a clip point. So it's different than just a regular straight point knife. Now, that will leave a different pattern, and I'm going to show you the pattern that it should leave. Now, there is also another difference, and this is if we trust ChatGPT. So I put it in ChatGPT. I can only share this for a second, but the one on the right-hand side would be more like a clip point knife, and that would be even at the slightest angle, it would leave more of a tail. And on the the left-hand side are perfectly circular droplets coming off a straight point knife. Hey, Hot Pie. So there's a difference. Even just standing there, there's a difference in the pattern that you would see coming off of the point of the knife, depending on what type of style point the knife has. And I just found that really interesting because I'm really struggling with those perfectly circular yet spread out patterns of droplets on the floor, almost like now I'm starting to think that it's somebody standing there more so waiting on another person and like maybe, moving side to side a little bit as they're waiting, maybe talking and just standing there holding. Like, this is very strange. I can't wrap my brain around it. And that's why I'm so fixated on these little droplets. And I think it's important. So that's what I wanted to show you with the knife. It is exactly. It's how the liquid slides off the tip. And depending on the tip of the knife, even if it has the smallest curvature, it's going to add a tiny bit of a tail to the droplet. Now, if the knife is being held even at the slightest angle, standing next to your side, it's not perfectly straight up and down because most people don't stand with their arm perfectly straight up and down. But it would cause, even having it at an angle, it would cause a little bit of a drip to have a tail. And I'm just like, I'm trying to figure out where these droplets are coming from. Is it somebody standing there waiting? Is it somebody standing there looking, admiring at what they've done? I don't know. And that's what I've been researching, trying to figure out. And that's why I was kind of saying, if anybody has any like good knife info, that we should be looking into different styles and things like that. That's really what I was doing to try and match those droplets, basically. It's just odd to me that they're both in the same spot of each room close to the doorway, and that they're more spread apart than what you would think as a droplet and then a droplet and droplet and droplet in the same spot of somebody just standing there. There seems to be movement to it, but the pattern of the drippage doesn't show movement. So I find it strange. And if it was cast off or anything like that, it would for sure have a tail on it because it's moving through the air that way. Just interesting. Yeah, very true, Stephen. It could, yeah, each drop, he says, it's hard to say because each drop does its own thing. And that's absolutely true. But I would just think even the smallest movement would cause even the slightest bit of a tail to appear, and none of these have a tail in that area. And I find it just odd. Very, very odd. And that's what helps me come to the theory of there being, I know, at least two, I think three, now that I've really like sat down and pictured everything in my head, each movement and what that would have to be like. To me, the catalyst, basically, I said this last live, was Murphy barking. Dylan hears one thing, and then she says, after that, Murphy started barking. Dylan hears one thing. Immediately after that, Murphy starts barking. So to me, those two things happen at the same time because what they are remembering is Murphy starting to bark. So those two things happen simultaneously on different floors. So there has to be at least two, right? If not three, because now I'm thinking of the person on the second floor saying, I'm here to help. However, Dylan didn't mention hearing 2 people come down the stairs and Murphy didn't come down the stairs. And that's just if we can even, I know we don't trust what they say because they've changed it so many times, but even in their story that they think sounds perfect enough to repeat it over and over to officers, still tells me there's at least 2 or 3 people at the scene in the home, not talking about them. Oh, interesting, Stephen. Yeah, what changed? What not that you can't change your mind, you absolutely can. But Stephen says he's not convinced that Bryan is completely innocent, but convinced he had help. Interesting. At one point I did think that as well. Now this was at the very beginning, and that's because I talked about the verbiage. They were the words coming out of the officer's mouths told me from the jump they were looking for one person, and I never could figure out why. And then when they arrested one person, I still was like, why? This has to be more people. Oh, it's more comes down to evidence and stuff for you. I mean, yeah, some people change their mind, or some people will hear one thing and it'll just keep ringing in their head. And I have to be honest, at the very, very beginning when the DNA came out and I didn't know how much DNA it was, I was like, oh, that's bad. But then when you find out the amount of DNA, you're like, that he couldn't, it's not even enough for him to have touched it with his own hand. It's just not. And that's science. Hello, Karen. So yeah, I think another thing I was thinking of, and I don't it's a very obvious thing, but I haven't really heard anybody say it, is, we see those figures run behind the Banfield stop, right? And there's 3 males and a female, possibly is what it may look like. And I've always found that interesting that there's 3 different male DNA, and even some think maybe possibly a female is mixed in there, which would match with the crime scene evidence that we've dug into, not the evidence they've given us, but what we've dug into. But my question is that nobody's questioned, how come those people didn't come forward? If that was me and I was playing tag with my friend at 3 in the morning, and then later found out a crime had happened there that was horrific and it was 4 people, in my brain I'd go, oh my God, I was in that area. And then I'd dig a little bit more and I'd be like, oh my God, I passed that house an hour before they said this happened. And I'd call and be like, I was there at this time, I didn't see anything. But those people never came forward that were running in the back of Banfield. You have to know it's you. You know what time you were there. You know you were the one running in that area. How come they've never come forward and said, oh, that was me. I was, we were intoxicated and trying to get home. Yeah, exactly. Susan, you're right. It's easy. It didn't fit their narrative. Is it because those people never came forward though? Or is it because they came forward and they just didn't want to tell us that, officers didn't want to tell us that because it didn't fit their narrative? You know what I'm saying? Hey, Pokey. No, it's okay, Stephen. Hi, Victorine. Do we have 2 Stevens in here now? Hey. Yes. And I think people get hung up on that. Stephen, your picture's funny. So Stephen says it's hard to overcome the fact that inmate 163214 did swear under oath that no one coerced him to plead guilty to all 5 counts. And I hear that. Trust me, I do. However, there are so many people that plead guilty to things that they didn't do for one reason or another. And I have to self-disclose, I pled guilty to a crime I did not commit. And that was because, number one, it was my first time ever being in trouble for anything. And I was tired of fighting. I was like, these people, how can you prove something you did not do? I mean, these people are never going to give up. And if I keep fighting, what I'm going to face is going to be a lot harsher punishment than if I just take their stupid little plea deal and deal with it and take probation for a year. It was a small time thing. It wasn't obviously what he was facing, but I couldn't imagine the magnitude of that pressure either. But then again, I'm like, I go both ways with it because I'm like, okay, he would have ended up in this spot either way, except for going to trial. I personally think he would have had a very big shot of being found not guilty just because of the lack of evidence, and the stuff they have is easily proven away. So why would you? And a lot of people say threats, which is true. I can tell you that there was a lot of stuff in my case that I was scared to deal with because of the repercussions if you try and fight back, things like that. So, and obviously threats to him of maybe the actual people who did it that he might know, or they obviously know him. I mean, there's a million different scenarios. And I would say the one thing that I get hung up on is what made him plead. But then it goes the same for the prosecution too. If their case was so strong and so great that they have this person nailed, why would they take a plea deal and get nothing out of it? They didn't ask for a weapon. They didn't ask for any sort of confession. There was no confession, just a yes, yes, guilty, yes, yes. So I don't know. I mean, definitely no shame in anybody who thinks a different way. Everybody's welcome here for sure. Hi, Natural Wonders. Correct, Susan. Yeah. Legally, he did not confess to doing this at all. There's a huge difference in saying, I did XYZ. I was there at this time. I used this blah, 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 blah. And just answering, yes, it was me is totally different. I agree. And it makes me wonder why they didn't even ask him, tell me where this weapon is at. Tell us in private. Tell us. They didn't even ask for that. And it makes me question, did they not ask because they know he doesn't know? And that's the problem. That's the exact problem, Carol. Why do they not want the real truth to come out? Why? And who is making them hush hush about everything? And to me, it says follow the dang money. Yeah, Fizzy. That's what I settle on too. Every time, I think we all do this, right? We get into this back and forth in our own heads. Well, what about this? Okay, here's this. If somebody asked me this question about it, how would I tell them, how would I explain it to them why I think he's not guilty? And that's part of it. They knew he didn't have the answer. And that's what I land on as well. He just didn't have the answer. Why ask somebody that doesn't have the answer? What a waste of time. It's just wild, I think, on the prosecution's part to do this plea deal and get literally nothing out of it except for another plea deal. I get that counts as a win for them, and that's all they care about. It's all about numbers for them. And I think they knew there was a huge possibility that there would be a not guilty if they went to trial. And I think that they were worried about that. I really do feel that way. Christina says, I kind of think maybe he offered to let them frame him so that they could save the university and save the town as long as they promised to let him go at some point. I think that there are small things that might fit into that as well, just depending on the circumstance, right? I mean, other channels have brought up different like NIJ studies and things like that. Another thing I think of is, did he maybe get to county jail and get switched over to this other county jail? And the way it was structured just worked for him. Maybe that was easier for him because he has mental health conditions and autism and other things going on with him. Was it easier for him to fit in prison than it is in the real world? Is that just easier for him to have a structure? You get up at 5 every day. Somebody makes your breakfast. He doesn't have to deal with the pressures of outside world. Could that be part of it too? I mean, you never know. You really never know. Everybody is different. And I definitely think that maybe somebody in his shoes where he struggles making friends. His parents see it. When he moved in, his dad was trying to make friends for him at the age of 27 or 8. Is that maybe just easier for him to have that structure? He knows where his next meal is coming from. He knows everything. It's predicted. It's predictable. Everything that he knows is going to come next every day. Is it just easier for him? And while he's in there, he can study all the things he was studying. He can study for the rest of his life and be a lifetime student without having to pay the price of being a lifetime student. He can have people study him and still have those connections with those type of people and doctors. Who knows? Oh, I agree. I think his handwriting surprised me too, until you think of the fact that he had that dexterity issue thing. Now, I'm going to be honest. Some of that little stuff, like the dexterity issues, some people can look at as they're just saying that as another, mitigating circumstance as far as why he couldn't have committed this crime. Or is it true? Does he really have that issue? And when his handwriting came out like that, it made me think maybe he does have some dexterity issues, because that is some awful handwriting. It's bad. But I don't agree with the fact that some professionals are trying to say that his handwriting shows he's an immature human being. I don't think your handwriting shows that at all. I know some males with amazing handwriting, and they were the most immature people I've ever met. One second, I gotta blow my schnoz. So yeah, sometimes I question the little things like that. But hi, Taratha. Okay, that's what it's called, dyspraxia, which he probably also has dysgraphia. Okay, I'm gonna have to look those up now. Hot pie. Hi, Angel Mom. Thank you so much. Let's see. Let me first go with Hot Pie. Hot Pie said, if someone was grading my papers in college with handwriting like that, I would think, what the crap? Honestly, I don't put much on people's handwriting. I've known some amazing people that have the worst handwriting like ever, and also can't spell worth a crap. But I've met some really horrible people that had amazing handwriting. For men, I'm talking about for men. So I think it can go both ways, really. I don't put too much on handwriting. Angel Mom says, KG saw a masked intruder with a knife. No 911 call. Isn't that interesting? I do find that interesting. How come if Dylan says Kaylee runs upstairs, whether it was Kaylee or Xana, it doesn't really matter. How come when they ran upstairs and screamed and said there's somebody here, they didn't dial 911 instead of going into the bathroom and crying? And I don't believe that any amount of Adderall, I don't know if I can say that, any amount of rugs, of that kind of rug, would make you not call. It doesn't make you like think you're in La La Land or in a different world. It's not like a trippy type of rug. It makes you, if anything, more focused on stuff, right? Because that's what it's made for, I guess. But Yeah, how come they didn't call 911? How come ugh, that 911 just bothers me. It just does. I did, Fizzy. I did. And I was gonna bring that up today, but I saw Harsh did it, so I didn't wanna feel like people thought I was trying to, copy him or follow him or anything, but, I did. And I found that interesting. She had did a, hi, Liv. Megyn Kelly did an episode, I wanna say even a couple months ago, and where I heard her, the way she was talking, I was like, "She's questioning, she's questioning." I felt it coming. It was just the way she was talking. But I think honestly, people in those positions, they have to be careful what they say, right? They can't, even if she believed the same things that we do, she would never be able to get away with saying that on her show. Never. But the fact she is starting to question yeah, I like that. I mean, that's what everybody should do. Even if you have all the proof in the world, I think everybody should still question. Question until you have every bit of documentation to prove one way or the other. And in this case, we're all still here because we don't. They won't even show us the dang body cam of when they entered that room. Blur everything out. We don't need to see anything. Just show us there was a knife sheath when Officer 1 walked into that room, because he didn't note that knife sheath on anything he wrote down. He wrote down everything he saw when he walked in that room, and a knife sheath was not on there. Let's see. Yeah, you guys are right. Absolutely right. That I can't fathom being in Dylan's position and not calling 911. Like I just and then you mix that with the indirect and direct evidence of a cleanup. And I just can't, it's hard for us to get over that, right? Absolutely, Angel Mom. I think that whether it doesn't matter if it was Kaylee or Xana, right, who ran up the stairs and back down, it doesn't matter. Whoever it was did have time to call 911 as well. I truly believe that. I do. No, Charlene says, "Have any interrogations with BK been released?" And they have not. I have FOIA'd them along with, I'm sure, everybody else. There isn't necessarily a interrogation of him. Apparently, they got him in a room. They started to talk to him, and he talked with them perfectly fine until they said, basically, "We have you here because of the homicides in Moscow." And he was like, "Oh, I guess I need a lawyer then, right?" Like, that's the smart thing to do. I know some people think it shows guilt. I don't. I wish I would have done that in my case, even though it's super small. So I don't think there's necessarily, even if we do get audio or video of that encounter, the first one of Bryan Kohberger and the officers in the where did they take him? Like an army something? What are they called? Oh my gosh. I can't remember. Like an army base thing they took him to first, right? Wasn't it? Um, but yeah, there wasn't necessarily any type of interrogation, I guess. So I have FOIA'd it. I've FOIA'd so much stuff and I'm not getting anything back yet. Natural Wonder says, "Has anyone identified who those 3 to 4 men were that got into that black SUV and all hid their faces with their hat?" The ones that I think those are the ones that everybody is calling the cowboys. And from my understanding, those were US Marshals. Why are the US Marshals there? I don't know. Why is Homeland Security conducting interviews? I don't know. Absolutely, Susan. And that's what's wild. And right there, so Susan says, Have you read his school paper? It's exactly what's happening to him, in my opinion, why he pleaded guilty. He got a 97% on the paper, right? So he knows this situation perfect. He knows this situation. He probably knew what he was up against and probably knows a lot more than us. And that's probably why he ended up taking a plea. And I would assume he has something up his sleeve to exonerate him, like he said. But it is extremely wild that that paper was the exact situation this whole case is, and everything he's gone through is wild. And I can understand now why so many people might think that this is a psyop. I can see that. I really can. When I first saw the pictures of the books that he had, even though it was required reading, it still is strange a little bit because he was specifically picked and sent across the country for this program by certain people that are really high up, right, in this field, in all of this criminology stuff that he's studying, right? He was picked, handpicked. So it's like, was he handpicked for something else? A big study that we'll never know, is, you know what I'm saying? Like, I can see why people think that, because that's wild. The barracks. Thank you, Christina. I was like, where did they take him? It was like an army something. Yeah, stop that right now. Exactly. Why would Homeland Security be involved? That's so strange. So strange. And I don't even know why. I suppose that could be my next dig. Probably look into that later. Oh, by the way, I don't mean to get off topic, but I've had a lot of people ask me about this mic right here, and I did link it. I linked it in all my descriptions for this live show and my last video as well. So I'll have it in there from now on if you're interested in it. It's very affordable and so easy to put together too. So just letting you know it's in there. Well, that was my initial thought, Fizzy, too, was some sort of human or rug or something. And I find that interesting too, because it does match me today. I find it interesting too, because when they interviewed, when they interviewed, I'm pretty sure it was Xana's mom. Xana's mom said, and it was all bleeped out. Oh, 1 second. Bronxy wants through this door. Sorry. Okay, sorry. When Kara, Xana's mom, when they interviewed her in the jail, she said, I hope this doesn't involve blank or blank because I know blank hates Xana. And I was like, well, you know, her mom, what she was into at the time, did she know what Xana was into? Similar things that she was into, right? The rug activity. And could it be connected to that? I thought her interview was kind of strange, that she was like insinuating that she thought, her initial thoughts was that it had something to do with the rug activity and that she knows somebody specifically hates Xana, which was the exact opposite of what everybody else said. So I thought that was interesting. Yeah, I do agree with that. Susan, your picture is so pretty. Susan says Kara also wasn't liking the way they investigated either, and I agree with that. Exactly, Pokey, because it's strange that her own mom would say that, especially knowing what her, Xana's mom was into, and then knowing what Xana was into. Because listen, somebody who is into rug activity, who just maybe does it on the weekend, isn't going to have rolled up bills in your room, in your car. You're not going to do that. You're only going to have that, in my opinion, if you are using it regularly, right? You have something you can use it with in your car, you have it in your room, you're making sure you have it in any place you might need it to use it at any time. So I think that her mom knew what she was into. And was there somebody from that community that hated Xana for whatever reason? Who knows? But I think it's strange. Let's see. Natural Wonder says, into blue glove cowboy guy was wearing, and all other law enforcement wore black that I saw. And a blue one was somewhere found, I think, when the documents were read. I don't know. I think that I might not be talking about the same thing as you, but I think they saw so there was a glove found outside of the crime scene in the front, like down the driveway, but it was in the grass. You can see it in the body cams just vaguely. And there was unknown male DNA on that glove that never tied to Bryan. They never found out who it tied to. But then when the photos came out of Bryan Kohberger's house, there was a black glove in there. It's not the same type of glove. And there was just one. And I think some people are running with that, but I don't think it's the same glove. I can see that, Bridget, for sure. Bridget says, I feel like Stacey Chapin did not like Xana at all. Like, I feel like she blames Xana for Ethan's death because she thinks they got unalived because of Xana. I agree with that. I totally do. And I think that especially now that there was known rug activity, I bet you anything they blame her for that. Like, oh, my son would have never touched it had it not been for this little Bia, right? Like, I can totally see that. Yeah. 1114 cat. Xana's mom is a CI. All sus. Yep. Yep, I saw that. Hogless 930. Jay Embry showed Hunter Chapin's black Explorer driving to the 1122 house at 429. The black truck with loud exhaust, he didn't go in the house to see his brother, would have changed this whole thing. I find that interesting. So it was, I think the last live I did, probably last week, I was trying to figure out what vehicle I thought that might be, only because I have had an older model Explorer like that was an EcoBoost, that it was newer and it didn't have that rumbly exhaust. So I'm like, I don't know if the Explorers can have that type of rumbly exhaust. Obviously, probably any car can, depending on what's wrong with it or what's modified or what, and I happen to think it was the maroon Tahoe, an older model Tahoe that pulled up, because I have a friend that had an older model Tahoe, just like that, same color and everything, that had that type of exhaust. So it made me instantly go to, that might be the Tahoe. But now that I rewatch it, I don't think that vehicle is the Tahoe. It looks like a smaller SUV than an older model Tahoe. So now I think I agree with Jay Embry with it being the Explorer. I think it does fit more with the Explorer. Why was that Explorer there? And okay, first of all, at that exact time, strange. And right, you didn't go in to see your brother or like say anything. Is it okay if I park my car behind yours? Is it, like they didn't live there. So why would they be parking their vehicle there? But also when um when Hunter Chapin and Maisie Chapin walked up and they found out, there was no emotion. None. Like none. And I find that very odd. I also found it a little odd. I don't know if, hey, tickle bitties. He does. He does. And there's been a couple of things that he has said that I very much disagree with. And that's because I have proved otherwise, just in small things, not a big deal. I think the way he digs and digs into stuff like that is excellent though. But not everything is correct. Just like I'm sure over here, not everything is correct, right? We're human. We're not going to get everything right. But he has changed it a lot. I agree. We still love him though. Can't help but love him. Um, but what I thought was strange was that the Chapins, Maisie and Hunter, when they walked up, had zero emotion. Listen, I haven't talked to my brother in decades, but that would still upset me and I would show emotion. I know not everybody's like me, but I'm just saying, like, that would, for most people, be a natural reaction, would be to be upset. None. No emotion. And then I don't think anybody caught this, but if you go back and look at the video footage, Hunter Chapin has two phones. He's using two different phones. One stays in his pocket and one he's using. Briefly, he pulls one out of his pocket and uses it and then puts it back in his pocket and uses the main phone. He's got two phones, which is fine if you need, but why would Hunter Chapin need two phones that are both working? Which is interesting, right? Pav said Dylan texted Hunter Chapin, which is interesting, right? If they check Hunter's phone, and I just told you he's got two phones, which one did they check? Do they know he's got another one? Do all these people have other ones? Is there other phones that these people have that they don't know about? Yeah, that's absolutely true, Susan. I'm not saying that, everybody, I just found it a little bit strange that initially, when they had just talked to him, I think Maisie was like the last person that talked to him. I would think they would show emotion. Some don't. You're right. You're absolutely right. Susan says they may have been in denial. I was when I first found out my sister and niece were on. Oh my gosh, I am so sorry that happened. Holy crap. So you know exactly what feelings, people would be going through in this situation. You have like a common emotional relation to know what some people in this case would be going through. They do, Fizzy. They refer to themselves as twins now, and they keep Ethan in the basement. And his mom wrote a book, The Boy in Blue, which I get it's a kid's book, but he doesn't have a name. I mean, we can pick apart every little thing, right? But I want to pick apart the things that, yeah, I would think it. I couldn't imagine. I don't know. I couldn't imagine being a triplet and one of them passing, putting them in the basement, and calling myself a twin. I just can't. I don't know. What else was I gonna talk about today? I have a question for you guys. We have been told that Bryan Kohberger purchased a knife sheath, and sharpener, along with vitamins, I think. Now, we have never seen proof of purchase of these items, ever. And then the police went and made the exact same purchase he did. From what account? I have no idea. For all we know, they could have used his account. I have no idea. But first of all, I've never heard of anybody doing that, any officer or police force purchasing the same items in a case. I don't know. I find it weird. Why would you need to do that? I don't know. But how come they have never shown us proof of the exact order? Right, Susan. Like on Amazon, they would have a picture of the exact order. They've never shown us proof of it. Then they go and buy the same thing. And they've never produced proof of Bryan's. How many of you are wondering, just like I have been, if they ever produce proof of it, how many of you will automatically think, okay, but that could be the one you guys bought? I think about stuff like that. Like, no, you guys are just like preparing for what you know is going to come. Somebody's going to ask for proof of the purchase and you're going to have to prove it. If you have it, you're going to have to prove it at some point. And that would have been their way of being able to prove it because they purchased the same dang thing. They did, Silent G. They have, I think his mom said that. I think it was an interview with Stacy and Jim. And they said, we keep him in the basement. So if anybody wants to go talk to him, they can go down and talk to him. Okay. Wild, but okay. And I think the biggest thing that I guess guilters will say, what they say is his DNA was on the sheath. I mean, I can't tell you how many comments I get like that. His DNA was on the sheath. Enough said. I'm like, oh my gosh, do you guys not read this stuff? Do you not look at it yourself? It tells you the amount of DNA. Yeah. Yes, Stevens. Was that in your comments? Someone said there's lots of proof of Bryan Kohberger's guilt that you just ignore. Yeah, I get lots of comments like that all the time. Sometimes I just delete them because it's like, listen, I don't want that energy over here. If you're not going to take the time to look into it yourself and really dig, you might not come to the exact same conclusion as me or you or you or you. But to say that he's completely guilty because his DNA was there or because they have all this proof is just not even factually true. Yeah, it's like, I don't know. My other question is, because, I'm obsessed with these dang little droplets in the room, right? If I understand the little ones probably dried fairly quickly, right? But I'm really stuck on this Hunter stuff. So about 4 days ago, I put out the video actually that showed Hunter, standing like this, just like Chris Watts. I put that in my video, and then everybody's been like, sharing it and stuff now. But what I find strange in that whole situation is Hunter had all the time in the world to let those officers know, or at least the first officer know, that it wasn't just an unconscious person. And he did not say that at all. He let that officer walk into the house, up the stairs, down the hallway. Hunter was talking, trying to explain away something. How did Hunter have blood on his hands, but not track not one single speck through the house? How? Because we've seen the floors, we've seen the crime scene photos, right? Even though they're not dated, which I still think is weird. Hunter, he would have to get so close to Xana to check her pulse, right? To where he got blood on his fingers. I thought she had red fluid surrounding her. If he got close enough to check her pulse, how did he not track red fluid through the house after stepping in it? And neither did the officers. And that's what I find weird. Literally none. You're absolutely right. None. They talk about one, and it was a red fluid footprint outside of Dylan's door that had apparently been cleaned up. And I don't know if Lucy Morningstar, I don't know if she's in here today. Sometimes she is, but excuse me, sorry. I saw that she posted the slides that Hunter was wearing were white, and Vans sells a white pair of slides that look identical to his with the diamond pattern underneath. And I would assume he's probably the same height as Bryan Kohberger, would possibly wear the same size shoe. Is that where that footprint came from? But if that's the case, it either he lied about where he walked through in the house, and he did go upstairs to the third floor, and that's how that footprint got there, or it was at a different time and it was cleaned up. Thank you, Bianca, for putting Lucy's channel. Yes. Lucy sometimes is in our chat too. And if you are interested, Bianca put her channel in our chat. You can click on that to join her channel as well. Over here, we don't gatekeep. We just want the information to get out there, right? We just want everybody to kind of be on the same page, looking into stuff and getting the information out there. We don't care about clicks and views and who's got what and everything else. We're just the same community. We want the same information out there. That's it. Lucy is very smart. There is, yeah, she is. She's very funny. There is literally no proof of any footprints at all, not even the unalivers. And I've heard people say, oh, they had booties on their feet. You're still going to make a track, whether I just whistled, whether it's like doesn't have like a print in it because you have a cover over your shoe, you're still going to make a track of red fluid. I don't understand how there is none throughout the house at all. Not possible. It's not possible for Hunter to go in there, check Xana's pulse, and not bring some sort of fluid out on his feet. It's not possible for the officers to walk in there and do, check pulses and check in bodies and things like that and not track it through the house either. And we don't see either of that, which is so wild to me. So wild. Exactly, Fizzy. Even let's say it was Kaylee that did come down the stairs, scream, all that stuff. Where are her footprints then? Okay, if it's not Kaylee, then it's Xana. Okay, then where are Xana's own footprints in her own stuff as she's fighting? You guys, they would have been slipping on it. Both the victim and the unalivers would have been slipping in it. Where's the evidence of that? I don't see any like footprints barefoot, like if Xana was barefoot or if somebody had a sock on or anything like that. I don't see any of that. I don't see any slipping in it. I don't see any walking in it. And that's just not possible. It's just not possible. Oh, on top, XX. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We appreciate you so much. So I think there was rumor of, I'm going to address this. So Charlene Rico says, oh, look at you, doggy. So cute. I heard there was rumor of a secret passage under the house, but of course covered up in the demolition. Has anyone heard of this? Yes, I do remember at the very beginning, it was a huge thing of people saying that there's tunnels under the house and all throughout that area. I've seen things that disproved that theory, and I've seen things that looked like it was true. So I don't know if there actually is. I would honestly love to eventually take a trip out there and just see everything for myself. I know the house isn't there, which is odd enough. That should tell you everything right there, guys. But I would love to just see it and be able to know those things for yourself. You know what I mean? Steam tunnels. Okay. Baby Drip lives down there. I thought I heard that. I thought that's where Baby Drip has been for a while, down in the Idaho tunnels. That is so funny. Yeah, so you're right. Yes. I think most people did hear that. My question, let's see. Steven, my question hasn't been answered if Kohberger will eventually be put in the Gen Pop, forced to get a job so he can pay the victims' families. Okay, let me think. Once he's, gone through medical, and which I think he's already done, right? And then he gets his cell. He's not getting the DP. So I think he's might be in protective custody right now. If he asks to remain in protective custody, then no, he won't go to Gen Pop. If he continues to ask to be in protective custody, which also we should think about, why would he be in protective custody, right? There's different reasons for that as well. But if he decides he doesn't want to be in protective custody and everything is good and he puts in to go to Gen Pop, then yes, he can go to Gen Pop. He can get a job, make license plate, plant plants, whatever they do, and pay the victims' families back. Now, also, when people send him money on his commissary, they will take some of that to pay back the victims' families. They don't take it all. Let's say somebody sends him, excuse me, let's say somebody sends him $500. They might take 50 of it or 150. They're not going to take all of it, right? But they will take some of the commissary and pay back the families with it. If it's all he has, then no, I think it has to be like over a certain amount and things like there's red tape with all of that, you know. Yeah, it's like 20 to 50%. I think it's something like 20 or 30 or something like that. I don't think it goes up to 50, but yep, Christina. Yeah, I think that's what I read was 20 to 30, somewhere in there. Depending on what it is. I think depending on where it comes from, depending on what it is, it might go up to 50. I have no idea. But they do take a percent. That's very possible, Carol. Especially with some of his medical conditions, they might be still in the process of doing medical stuff and getting him an actual diagnosis and getting him on the correct medicines and seeing what works for him. You know, that takes a long time. He might stay in protective custody or even in medical for that. If he does go to Gen Pop, I think it will be a while. I do. But I think if he wants to, he probably will have the option to, right? Unless they think that he just is, too autistic or too whatever, and he can't. I don't know. Diggle Bitty says, "Oh, I guarantee they'll take all of it that's sent to him. Just saying, they charge for practically everything, especially medical. Charge for Tylenol. Yeah, but that's stuff that you get on like commissary. You can buy Tylenol on commissary. But legally, they cannot take every dollar he gets because just like in his complaint, where they have to have a certain amount of calories and stuff, they allow them to have some of that money to get food off commissary. I think they know that food they give you is not going to feed anyone. Right. Legally, they cannot take every penny. They might leave him $20 if somebody sends him 500. I don't know. I don't know what the numbers are. I thought it was 20 to 30. I could be very wrong. Who do I think was the target? That's a really good question. I'm curious Hi Dakota. I'm curious who you guys think the target was. For some reason, I like to go against the grain, and because the media puts out there that it's Kaylee, it makes me think it's not her. Right? Because if they're just throwing it in your face, it tells me I need to look elsewhere. So, I don't know. I really don't. I don't know. I really don't know. I'm curious who you guys think is the target. I believe that I do believe they were on foot. And I'll tell you the reason I think that is mostly because The footprints. Okay, so Dakota says since the cameras reportedly didn't pick up other vehicles around that time, it is clear the perpetrators were on foot and therefore lived close by. And I'll tell you, I agree with that, right? Because they found when they first arrived, there were footprints that went from the back slider out, down, around, and then where did they go? They didn't say. And then we know the glove was dropped out the front all the way down in the front of the or right behind the garbage cans, the recycle bin, all the way down at the end of the driveway. Okay, if Bryan Kohberger did this, right, and he gets in his car and drives away, how did that bloody glove get in the front? It just doesn't even make sense. And then where they say he parked, his footprints would go the opposite direction. So that doesn't make sense. I think they lived close by, and that's why I think those figures that are running in the back of the band field might be linked to it. We've got 3 different male DNA. There were at least 3 males back there. There was a glove dropped there, and those people never came forward. Why would you not come forward? Why wouldn't you just say, hey, like that's the most suspicious part to me. Why would none of those people that were running by not come forward? And there's evidence of 2 different weapons, number 1. Number 2, 2 different styles of unaliving. There looked like there was a very calm and almost like a medical type person, or somebody who was maybe in some type of like Army, Navy, type of military, where they might have learned how to unalive like this. And then a very calm, collected, knew what they were doing. And then a very like frenzied, out of control, I'm here to help. Don't worry, I'm here to help. Like that person was just all over the place, out of control. Didn't know what they were doing. Were fighting people and all sorts of stuff. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't even think of the insurance way. Who would be beneficial? I'm going to have to look into that stuff now because I didn't really even think of insurance, which I should have, and I didn't yet. Excuse me. Oh, I wanted to read you guys spicy chicken nuggets. Silent G, I agree with that. Silent G says most people live long lives in prison. I agree with that. And you know what else? They don't age like the rest of us really, because they don't have all those world stressors that everybody else has, and paying bills. And yeah, I forgot about insurance too. I really did. So thank you for bringing that up. I'm really going to dig into that now, because now I'm thinking like beneficiaries and interesting. Would the school get anything for that? And the homeowner's insurance and, just all that stuff. I'm going to dig into that now. I was going to read you guys this document, and I think somebody else went over this document. We never went over this document though, so I want to, because it's interesting to me. If I can flip and find it. All right, let me see if I can add. That's not even what I wanted. Where'd it go? Not that one. Not that one. Oh no, did I lose it? Let me see if I can find it really fast. I think it is right. Nope, not that one. Darn it. Let me see if I can find this really, really super duper fast. I had it. Oh, there it is. Duh. I'm a dingling. I don't know if it'll let me share this screen though. Let me see here. what I can do. Oh, no. It won't let me share this one. Okay, what is this? 116. All right, let me grab it. Cancel out of this and grab it from here. All right, I just want to read you guys this document. It's very odd. 116. Here it is. Okay, now I can share it from here. Doobie doobie doo. Okay. You guys might have seen this before. I think somebody talked about it. This is the Asian male. Hi, Jeff H. Oh, yeah. Steve's brother. I want to make sure, does everybody know that, I'm sure most of you do, but does everybody know that Steve Gonsalves, Kaylee's dad, has a brother that is in prison for unaliving somebody? And the person he unalived was a man in a wheelchair? Just want to make sure everybody knows that. So all of this, like he knows Steve Gonsalves and his brother, I'm sure, know all about prison and all that whole world, right? So might be even able to call some shots. Or I think even when that came out, when people finally found out about that, people questioned, like, was this a revenge thing because of that? Like, I'm going to hurt you guys where it hurts. Yeah, and that was I think the whole thing about that spicy chicken nuggets is his brother is a unaliver. It's sus. How would he feel if they gave his brother the DP, right? Like, it's very I think that's why people struggle with Steve G, because he says one thing when it happens to his daughter, but his brother did the same thing to somebody else. So yeah, and Olivia was arrested for DV, apparently. I mean, allegedly, in our opinion. Right. So it's interesting. It's very much a deep web that is weaved here. So I just want to read this really quick. It's not super long. I just want to make sure everybody does know about this because it's super strange. Detectives went to interview an Asian male that what at the time was 21 years old, and his residence was located in Moscow, and somebody called in a tip on this guy because he had recently purchased a K-bar. However, the K-bar had not been delivered yet to his house. So when the officers knocked on the door, this guy initially did not come to the door, but officers knew he was home because they had watched him walk to his door, and a neighbor across the walkway told him they observed him looking out an upstairs window while the officers were knocking. So he was purposely not coming to the door. Ultimately, the dude answered the door and asked in a very low sounding voice, "Who are you?" We called him by his first name and told him we needed to talk to him. And he asked, "What do you want to talk to me about?" And they told him, "We're law enforcement." And law enforcement asked him, "Are you looking at us through the peephole in the door?" And the kid was like, "Yeah." So they showed him his ISP issued badge through the peephole. Instantly, such and such, his voice changed to a higher pitch, and he unlocked the door, invited us in. We went into the living room in his apartment. Blank was the only person who was in the apartment. We asked Blank if he knew why we were at his apartment. He told us he figured it was because of the unalivings. This dude initially did not admit to ordering a K-bar knife. When asked what kinds of things he ordered recently, he told us he ordered a ski mask. Why? Because the one you used in the unaliving is long gone and you need a new one? So it says, I observed his order information on Amazon. This guy voluntarily provided me his phone and allowed me to look at his account. In his recent purchases was a ski mask and commercial grade cleaning gloves. I asked if blank had an email address, and if so, did he receive email confirmations on the orders? We had been given information regarding an email used to confirm purchase of the K-bar knife. I asked blank if I could look at his email to see if he had a confirmation email and what his email was. He provided me a different email address than the one used to purchase the K-bar knife. This guy again voluntarily gave me his phone and allowed me to look at his emails. While doing that, the officer clicked on the email icon and realized there were a couple different emails in there. So he clicked on a different email and it pulled up the confirmation of the K-bar knife. So as the officer began to look at the emails in his inbox, the kid stuttered and then said, "I know why you're here." Sergeant Hopkins asked blank to tell us why we're here. Blank told us it's because he ordered 2 knives. Interesting, right? Because many people think there were more than one different weapon used at the crime scene. So not only did this guy order a ski mask and commercial grade cleaning gloves, he ordered 2 K-bars. This was consistent with the tip we received and the confirmation email found in his emails. We asked him why he ordered those 2 knives, and he told us it was because he didn't have a pew-pew and ordered them for protection. No, nobody orders that for protection. He said he didn't feel like he was in any danger. After talking for a bit, blank on his own asked if we'd like to do a room inspection or something. We told him we would like to if it was okay with him. He agreed, and Sergeant Hopkins and Detective Barrett searched his room while this other officer talked to him. While talking with this guy, I asked why he chose the particular knife, and he told me he saw on the news the unaliver had used a K-bar style knife and he wanted to match it. After talking it through, this kid said he would have a pew-pew instead if he knew how to buy one. This kid appeared to realize it sounded unrealistic for him to buy a knife to match the unaliver if they were to ever get into a fight. This kid told us he did not know any of the victims of the unalivings that had occurred. This kid voluntarily provided a DNA sample via buccal swab. I seized the buccal swabs and placed them in a paper envelope. Nothing of note other than the ski mask and commercial grade cleaning gloves were found in his apartment. Nothing else was seized other than the DNA. And that was it. That was it. I don't see anywhere where it's like, "Oh, we compared such and such's DNA." All of these samples they're getting from people, they're not even comparing it to any of the DNA. We have no reports on that at all. So I find it weird that this kid was trying to not open the door and then was lying about what he bought, trying to hide the fact that he bought 2 K-bars, trying to hide the fact that he bought a ski mask and commercial grade cleaning gloves. It's just, why are you trying to hide all this? Because you lost them all or they're buried somewhere? Interesting. It's just weird. And I do get the point that it's Idaho, right? And it's more normal for people out there to own K-bars, especially for hunting and things like that. Like living downtown Chicago, you're not going to need a K-bar really, right? But I get that in Idaho, lots of people do own them. It just makes a difference when you're trying to deceive officers on what you bought. Why are you ordering? He says if he's Asian, he was born a ninja. K-bar won't be needed. He's got those silver star throwing things, right? Oh my gosh, you guys are crazy. You crack me up. But why is he hiding the fact that he bought a ski mask? What throws me off is the commercial grade cleaning gloves, y'all. That's what throws me off. Why are you buying all these things together, right? That's weird. And then he's trying to hide it. It's just the whole thing is just weird to me. I wonder too. Hey, Mark and Betty, good to see you. I wonder how the families are feeling too, because I think some of them want all of this to go away. And I think some of them want all the answers that we've been asking for too. Yeah, the gloves is weird for sure. Oh no, Bridget, I didn't know that. I'll have to check it out. Bridget says that it looks like Kaylee might have some self-harm on her in some pictures. Very interesting you say that. Stop that right now. I tell you guys every time, it's about 9 to 14 days. They'll drop something, 9 to 14 days, we'll see another big drop of something else. Another, the video of Molly McMichaels will suddenly surface. Or it'll about 9 to 14 days, we'll see something else. So when did those drop? I can probably tell you. I'm not sure. The newest released photos of Bryan Kohberger's house was 8/29. So I would say the 9th maybe of this month. Let's see if we can nail it. Let's see if we can nail it to the day. I say between the 7th and 9th of this month, they're going to drop something else. Because they got to keep our attention, you guys. They got to keep our attention on this case. The big people out there that are making big bucks off of everybody talking about this case, they got to keep it going too. Yep. Yep. And I figured, so Spicy Chicken Nugget says mainstream media is our enemy. They're making it seem like Bryan Kohberger's apartment is creepy when it's totally normal for someone who just moved in and is a broke student. Thank you, Angel Mom. I agree, Spicy Chicken Nuggets. And I totally thought that when those pictures came out, that everybody on the mainstream media side would be, it's so creepy. It's so creepy. Oh my God. It's not. It's a probably affordable rent. He moved across the country, so he's got nothing. He's just getting it as he goes along. And what makes it look creepy, honestly, is that paneling that has nothing to do with him. It just has that icky paneling from 1962, and the lighting is bad. That's what makes it look creepy. Angel Mom says, could the coroner see the order of unalivings? I have actually asked for that specifically, and I've obviously not gotten an answer. So they should be able to tell. That should have been an immediate tell, right? Because the second victim would have had transfer from the first victim. The third victim would have the first two, and so on, right? They have not released any information as far as the order, and they have not confirmed nor denied that they know the order. And I think it's more pointing to they don't know the order. And the only reason, in my mind, in my opinion, that it would be not possible to know the order is if multiple weapons were used, because there wouldn't be the transfer from 1 to 3 to 4, right? So, very good question. No, they haven't given us that. And I've specifically asked for that. I'm like, look, I don't need pictures. I don't need anything. I just give me a freaking screenshot of the order. That's all I want. Can't do it. Lassie is cool. This channel does need merch. I am working on it. Don't even fret. Don't fret. So yeah. Yeah, no problem, Angel Mom. Thank you. Yeah, I don't think we're ever going to get that kind of stuff. I'm going to be honest. I don't think he's going to, Stephen, at this point, right? Bryan only has 24 hours to appeal. If he doesn't, someone will unalive him basically in jail. Yeah, I don't know. I think that the more people that understand how smart he is and what he goes to school for, I think he will be very, very useful. He will be an asset to those people in jail who are appealing and trying to beat their case. They will find out how smart he is. Trust me, he will make good money in jail. But I'm hoping that he has 42 days to appeal. 42 days to appeal this last, whatever, the plea deal. I think it's totally beatable. To me, it's simple stuff. It's like, even if you have a completely incompetent jury, right? And they think everybody's guilty because they're sitting in court. If they've been charged, they're guilty, right? A lot of people on juries are like that. We know that. It's not a secret. But I think that even if we had a completely incompetent jury, when the prosecution would have said stuff to them like Bryan Kohberger's car was literally pulled apart, that's how much he was trying to clean it. It was so pristine. It was so clean. And then they showed him a picture of his horrifically dirty car. I know the inside was clean, but it's stuff like that that people catch on to. Like, but the outside is so dirty. Like, you would have to pull on the door handle to get in, stuff like that. I think they would catch on. I feel like I have lots of research to do tonight. Bronxy's yelling at me. It's time for him to go to the PARK. You don't think that 12 people would have, in my opinion, impossible to get 12 people to convict him? Correct. Yeah, I think the same thing. There's no way. There's no way, because they would have had just the simple, like, combat questions from Ann Taylor, like simple stuff. And the jury can see that. Like, you don't have to be, in this case, you don't have to be overly technical with things. There were some very simple things that I think could have proved that, at least reasonable doubt. There's so much reasonable doubt in this case. It's ridiculous. I don't see how I could see how maybe a couple, 2, 3 people, you have those type of people that are sitting on a jury, and just because somebody's sitting in a courtroom, they automatically think they're guilty, right? You wouldn't be here if you didn't do something wrong type of mentality. So you always have those people. But hopefully there would have been some people that had a couple of brain cells on there. I think there would have been. I don't think he would have been found guilty at all. There's too much reasonable doubt. You think it would have been a hung jury? Interesting. I think that could totally be possible too. But I don't think he would have been convicted. I can tell you that. I really don't. I just don't. Live. All right, guys. Bronxy's got to go to the park. So tomorrow I'm going to put up a pre-recorded video, and then we'll do another live. What's tomorrow? Wednesday. So we'll do another live on Thursday. So I'll see you guys Thursday. I hope everybody does something wonderful for themselves today. Be kind. More importantly, be kind to your animals. Thank you, mods. We have the best mods in the world here. Bronxy's yelling at me. All right, guys. Thank you for being here, everybody. We love you guys so, so much. And we will see you on Thursday, but I will have a video for you tomorrow for sure. All right, guys. Have a good night. Bye, guys.